quarterback yesterday, acquiring Joe Flacco from the division rival Browns to help their floundering quarterback room. Jake Browning obviously has been struggling since Burrow went out. He's yet to win a game under center, so they go to Flacco. Now, for the Browns, the trade clears the way for Shedeur to move up from 3 to 2 on the depth chart. Deion Sanders had this to say about the trade.
Just wondering what your reaction is.
I don't give a damn about the Browns at all. I care about the Colorado Buffaloes. I do love me some Shedeur Sanders, don't believe that. I care about him. The rest of that mess, I don't, okay? I'm a coach trying to win just like they're trying to win games, but I could care less of who they traded.
Great show gets even better. We welcome in Swagoo, but we start with our man Stephen A. Your thoughts?
Yes.
What's up, brothers?
What's up, my brother? I think that was a brilliant response by primetime Deion Sanders. I think it was very smart. I think it was very calculated. From the standpoint of sending the message, I got priorities over here. I'm not concerned about that. I love that guy because he's my son. But that's his business. That's their football team. I got my own issues over here. I got a 2 and 3 squad and I got to get better. That's what he's saying. The reason why that's so important, fellas, is because anything else could have been misconstrued, perceived in the wrong way, and ultimately held against Shedeur as an impediment to the progress that you're anticipating he will be able to make. You look at Dillon Gabriel, you know he can play, he's not a scrub. But you're not looking at him and saying there's no way on earth that we're going to see Shedeur Sanders because this guy's going to ball out. He's clearly the starting quarterback in the future of the Browns. They're trying to figure it out. So they're giving him the look as the now QB1. Shedeur should have never been the QB3 once Flacco got demoted because we all knew that Flacco wasn't going to be put back in there. So now he's in his rightful place, legitimately, officially, as the QB2. And if Deion Sanders had opened his mouth and said anything that was considered invasive or intrusive in the eyes of the Cleveland Browns, that would have been yet the latest increment to hold against Shedeur and be an impediment to him. So Deion Sanders being dismissive of what's going on in Cleveland and saying he don't have any concerns about that, that's none of his business, was the right thing to do.
Swagoo, what's your thoughts and what does this mean for Shedeur Sanders now as he is elevated on the depth chart?
Yeah. Well, the first thing it means he one play away. One play away, one bad game away, one decision away from getting into actual NFL, in an actual NFL regular season game where it means something. And then, two, what it says to me is that this was all semantics with Joe Flacco being the second string quarterback. Because if you have Shedeur Sanders on the third string, and this is something that came to my mind, fellas, if you had him as your third string quarterback, why wouldn't he be up for a trade to go to the Cleveland Browns, to try to go, the Cincinnati Bengals, to try to get to that quarterback spot and try to become a second string guy? Here is my issue with how Cleveland has played this. And the one issue that I have is Cleveland played this like the media. They didn't play this like a real football team. Shedeur Sanders, like you alluded to, S.A., should have been the second string quarterback once Joe Flacco was removed from the starting job. And let me say this as well, Dillon Gabriel looked good. Dillon Gabriel was really solid against the Minnesota Vikings. And now you have an opportunity to go forward with him based off of the first week of him playing to see if he's the guy. But Shedeur Sanders should have been in that position. It goes back to what I talked about in the preseason. It goes back to what I talked about early in the regular season. He should have been in getting reps and preparing like the guy that's going to have to come into the game if something goes awry in the quarterback room, in the quarterback situation. So I think this is great, obviously, for Shedeur to be the number 2 guy because, like I said, he's one play away. But this whole thing about moving Joe Flacco after you removed him as a starter, the number 2 guy to play, prepare, because like I said, you're one play away. That your week goes as preparation. You have to be in the mindset that I'm gonna have to go in the game and play. I'm happy for him. I just hate that we had to go through the semantics to get here.
Well, it was only 1 week, so we're not talking about a 6-week situation because Gabriel only played the 1 game. So only talking about a 1-game scenario where Sanders Probably could have been named the backup, and he was a number 3 quarterback, but it's only the 1 week. And as Swagoo said, now we'll get a chance based on an injury. He'll play some this year. I would think he's going to play 3-4 games. But one thing about Gabriel that you got to be fair about, Swagoo hit one thing. He played pretty well last week outside of third down. They were bad on third down. But he has played a million games in college.
64 games in college.
It always been 6 years. Was it 64 games?
64
This guy's played a lot of games. So he is actually a little better suited right now for the NFL based on his college experience, where Shedeur didn't play quite as many. So I certainly understand why the Browns are letting Gabriel be the starting quarterback for the foreseeable future, whatever that might be. 8, 9, 7, 6 games.
My anticipation is that we'll see Shedeur Sanders by around week 13 or 14.
I play some.
Because I don't believe that the Cleveland Browns are going to win many games. And because they're not going to win many games, right around that time, they'll be eliminated from playoff contention. And as a result of that, you have nothing to lose by putting Shedeur out there just to find out what he can do and what his value may be. So I think that that's the mentality that they're going to have. I think that's the mentality they should have. And most importantly, the locals, you got to remember, and we bring this up, and you don't want to make quote unquote PR moves per se. Let me tell you when that exception kicks in with football. When you've given the fans nothing else to cheer about.
Enough.
Now, if Swagoo, if you winning games and you contending, then you owe it to your players, to do everything in your power to win games. But when that ship has sailed and you ain't going anywhere, and in recent history you haven't gone anywhere, and you're looking at ownership, you're looking at the executive branch, and you're saying, what the hell is going on? What are y'all doing? What have y'all produced for us, et cetera, et cetera? And you got folks in Lake Erie, and I do bring up warm weather, stuff like that, because it matters, because it gets cold in Cleveland. 100%. It gets very, very cold in Cleveland, all right? Lake Erie is not an easy place to be in November and December. At some point, when the fans come out there and religiously go about the business of supporting you, and you've given them nothing to cheer about, and they're clamoring to see that guy, you got to give them to him. You got to say, all right, they'll go out there and show us what you got. And I think that Cleveland will be futile enough to provoke Shedeur Sanders by around week 14 or so being seen, and that's what I'm banking.
I would also add this. Remember, they have Jacksonville's first-round pick also in next year's draft, meaning they would have 2 first-round picks. You can package those, you can move up. They need to see themselves what they have in Shedeur Sanders at some point before they say, okay, we're going to do it all. We're going to go all in on another quarterback.
That's fair.
To do something. I know some people are saying, well, how could a 40-year-old quarterback do anything? You have a locker room that you have to answer to. Like Zach Taylor, this team has been struggling. They're getting nothing offensively. And you got to prove to Jamar, you got to prove to Chase and every other veteran that we're not giving up on a season where there's still a possibility, albeit small, however, we don't know, that Joe Burrow could be back this season. But it all depends if Joe Flacco can keep them afloat.
So we talked about the Cincinnati side of this a little bit earlier. It's a shot, whether none of us have particularly high hopes for it, but they're trying something. It seems to be the guy they identified, and they've done it. Let's go to the other side of it. The more I've thought about the Cleveland Browns' plan for this season, the less it makes sense to me. Right?
Sure.
They spent their entire summer. You were there, right? You're out there covering everything. They gave all the work to Joe Flacco and what was left over to Kenny Pickett. Then before the season even starts, they trade away Kenny Pickett, and now 5 weeks in, they've traded away Joe Flacco. They have these 2 rookies that we all knew were going to wind up being the guys you wanted to play this year anyway, and now you got to try and frantically catch them up. Their plan was, we're going to win games with Joe Flacco. Which sometimes, look, I get it, every team goes into a season thinking we're going to win, but maybe you have to have more realistic understanding of your situation. This just strikes me as a situation not well handled.
Well, when you enter training camp, you need everyone to be on board and everyone to expect the best and to work hard and play hard. And if you are putting Dylan Gabriel out there or Shedeur Sanders, I don't know that you get that out of them. They have respect for Joe Flacco. He led them to the playoffs. I think at the beginning of the season, that was the right move to make. What they were doing with Kenny Pickett, I don't know if that was smart, but now it's time to make the transition. So it didn't work out with Joe Flacco. It doesn't mean that they should not have tried with Joe Flacco.
Well, but my pushback on that would be that for everyone who was up early watching this game last weekend, they looked better with Dylan Gabriel immediately.
Yeah, agreed.
He walks in there, gives them some life, gives them some bounce, gives them some hope. He can move. From one side of the field to the other if he has to.
I'm just saying that it wouldn't have been like that. No.